All right, why don't we go ahead and get started? It is Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024, and this is a meeting of the Plan Commission of the City of West Bend. More than 24 hours in advance of this meeting, notice the time, place, date, and subject matter of the meeting was posted in accordance to Wisconsin state statutes. I invite you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We recognize a full quorum of our Plan Commission here tonight. Thank you all for being here. We'll start with approval of our regular meeting held on August 6, 2024. Any comments, questions, corrections?
Move to approve.
Thank you, Chris. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Paul. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll move into a public hearing tonight as it relates to our TIF District number 16. And we're going to start with a short presentation by Phil Cosson from Ellers, who's on the line.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. Phil Cosson with Ellers here with you. I appreciate the opportunity to be virtual tonight again. We have the project plan, which is a draft, and it'll stay a draft through the approval process once we get through the council action, if it makes it there. But we have an executive summary in the project plan, which is the third page in. I'm going to spend a few minutes on the executive summary and then kind of talk in a little more detail about some of the projects. But this is a district that many of you remember was created back at the end of 22, and it was a redevelopment district, which really included an area on the east side of the city that is off of Sand Drive, and there are a variety of projects that are moving forward along with the road improvement in that area. That district was created in 22, and since that time, there's been a lot of activity already in the development on the development side. And as we talk through the overall cash flow of Tax Increment District number 16, we realize that some of the valuations expectations are much greater than what were originally identified, which increases the potential revenue in the district. And that brought into play the possibility of adding Indiana Avenue to the north of this site, and we have a map showing that in here. And the Indiana Avenue is within a half mile of the boundary of the existing district, and that's a requirement that you need to make sure that if you're going to include a capital expenditure and it's going to be outside the district, it has to be within 1/2 mile of the boundary. And so what we're looking to do as part of this amendment is to include just that new project. So one project, the roughly $2.4 million reconstruction of Indiana Avenue, which is, I think you all know, a feeder right into this redevelopment area. And we're not looking to change the boundaries of the district at all, which eliminates some of the key items that are required to be in a project plan. I'll walk through those in a little bit. So we are looking at total expenditures originally being $9.2 million, up to $9.2 million in the TIF district. And now we are looking at increasing that to about $11.6 million. And that doesn't include things like, it does include capitalized interest and such. So on the other side of the equation, the incremental value, which comes from new development and redevelopment in the area, is really a jump by an estimate of about $43 million from the original estimate. So we are now at about $110 million of projected development. And again, not all of that is signed at this time, but there are a number of the proposals that are moving forward at much higher valuations than the original project plan. The really good news here is that the expected termination, even though this is allowed to be up to 27 years, It looks like it will close out after about 16 years. And again, that will be dictated by the pace of development, by the tax rates, by do the properties appreciate in value. So there's a lot that plays into that, but our initial projection is that even though we're adding these costs, due to the increased valuation of the developments, that we're looking to close this district out 11 years early, which is great news to get this back in the tax rolls. So we have in section 2, we've just identified that the map is not changed, nor has the map showing existing uses and conditions. So those are in section 2 and 3 have not changed. And we've referenced that in the project plan. Section 4, the equalized value test doesn't come into play. The city is well under the 12% test, meaning you have the ability to create new districts, but we're not adding territory here, so we don't have to worry about that test. If you go in the project plan, if you go to page number 13 in the project plan, you'll see that because we're adding a project that is outside the district but within a half-mile, Indiana Avenue street reconstruct, we need to identify that specifically. That was also in the public hearing notice, that it's required to be in the public hearing notice as well, which we have taken care of as part of the notice requirements. On page number 16 really gives you the visual of the existing boundaries of the tax increment district, which is the area highlighted in green, and then the half-mile radius is really drawn in the red circle in Indiana Avenue to the north in the purple that is coming down and feeding into Sand Drive. So it is really going to be a thoroughfare that will, I think, the remaining parcels will benefit from the improvement, and hopefully can be timed along with some of the development happening. So there's not too much interruption as well. But that's the location of it. In section number 7, we do have a list of all the projects that were originally approved and then the amendment. And so the public cost 2024, you can see under the estimated project list, Sand Drive from East Decorah Road to Eastern Avenue. That was part of the capital borrowing that was done earlier this year by the city. And then we have a series of development incentives that are really tied to each of these areas. So the Charter Senior Living in the Esteban Village incentive, the Jacobus property, which is Decorah Flats and Iron Horse, also the We Energy site, and then some potential additional commercial development, what we call East Side Commercial. Those are all items that were in the original project plan. So we're not really changing those, but what we are doing is adding where it says future amendment, the 2.44 million, which is the Indiana Avenue, and that brings the overall cost up to what we had talked about earlier. We have to put together development assumptions, and we've been working very closely with city staff to try to get the most updated information. And some of these are carryovers from the original project plan. But if you go to page number 20, where it says development assumptions, this is how we get to the roughly $110 million. And you can see there's some big numbers here, including actual value that's been created that was through construction year 23. That's $5 million. We're also looking at the Charter Senior Living to add another $18 million. Esteban Village, $20 million. The Decorah Flats and Iron Horse combined $28 million. And then the We Energy site is a kind of a carryover from the original project plan, and we feel like that will be an area that has a lot of potential for development, as well as the East Side site for the kind of commercial development. Those are all more perspective down the road, starting in 28 through 32. But the Charter Senior Living, Esteban Village, and the Jacobus developments are, if not inked, close to being inked already. So they are moving forward. On table 2, under the tax increment projection, we have to make a lot of assumptions in these projections, and a couple of them that are key. One, we keep finding that the tax rates continue to decline statewide, not just in West Bend, and that's a reflection of the fact that we've seen substantial growth in property values, and you live under levy limits, so you can only increase your levy so much. So as a result of the fast growth that we've seen statewide in real estate valuations, we've seen a declining tax rate. We project that continued going forward at a modest level, and then we do show that since most of this is residential, that we're going to see some appreciation of property value over time at 1.5%. So those are the couple of the assumptions that I wanted to at least bring forward to you, so you understand that. I think we're pretty conservative in both of those, but we have to make some estimates along the way, and that's how we ultimately get to the cash flow, which is on table 4, page 23 of the project plan. Now, what we do know is that some of these numbers are going to change. These different municipal revenue obligations that tie back to like Decorah Flats, the Iron Horse, Charter, Esteban, We Energies, they're going to change to some extent based upon final negotiated agreements. But this is the best information we have available at the time. So right now, we feel pretty comfortable with what we represent here, but again, these could modify a little bit. The Indiana Avenue project is currently targeted. I think earlier Administrator Shambo said design 25, start construction 26, which means it'll hit the tax rolls or the TIF increment, I should say the TIF cash flow in 27. So that's what we've identified for the timing. Just because it appears in the project plan as being a certain time frame doesn't mean that's when it has to be done. It'll be done when we, 1, feel like there's sufficient cash flow in the tax increment district, and 2, when the council feels like it's the right time to get the project done. So this will ultimately, like any other capital expenditure, end up in front of the council for action down the road, but that's what's slotted right now for the tax increment district. Under Section 9, no annex property here, and really we don't expect a lot of retail business in this area. There could be a little bit, but again, we don't expect a great deal, and really don't expect a lot to have to be rezoned in this area, but there'll be some rezoning of individual properties at the time of development. So if you go from like a We Energies site to residential, obviously there'll be some rezoning required as part of that in the future as well. So that's a relatively quick summary. Again, we're not changing the boundaries. We're just adding one project, Indiana Avenue. The rest is really just an update that gives you a better roadmap for where we are with Tax Increment District 16.
Thank you, Phil. Any questions for Phil before we move on to our public hearing? If not, I will open up a public hearing regarding the proposed amendment to the project plan for Tax Increment District number 16 by the City of West Bend. Again, this is to add a reconstruction project of Indiana Avenue from Decorah to Kilbourne. So if anybody would like to address the Plan Commission on this topic, the floor is now open for public hearing.
Motion to close.
Second.
Thank you, Chris, and second by Matt to close the public hearing. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The public hearing is now closed. So we'll move on to potential action on this, and it's a resolution approving an amendment to the project plan for Tax Increment District number 16.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Matt and Mike. Any comments, questions, discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. That will move on to council for approval, and then it will move on to the joint review board for final approval. So that's the process on that. All right, we'll move on to our conditional use permits tonight. John.
Sure. Our first conditional use permit tonight
Thank you, Phil, for calling in. Sorry, John.
yeah.
Thank you, Phil, for calling in. Appreciate it.
Our first public hearing, our first public hearing for conditional use tonight is for a conditional use permit to install a sculpture within the Flood Fringe Overlay District at 109 South Main Street on the west side of the river by Mountain Outfitters.
Thank you. Again, this requires a public hearing, so I will open up the floor for a public hearing on this topic. Anybody wishing to address the Plan Commission, please step to the podium. Seeing none, I will motion to close the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jeff. Motion to close. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The public hearing is now closed, and I will entertain a motion for action on this item.
Motion approved.
Thank you, John.
Second.
Thank you, Paul. We'll give that to Paul. Any comments, questions, discussion?
He's
All
got like
in-
a bicycle sculpture now. Is that going to be removed or what?
This is actually for the sculpture that he has for the bike, I believe, is up near the building. This is
Oh,
actually
okay.
for one that's on the ground, closer to the Riverwalk.
Okay.
Any other questions? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Our second public hearing for conditional use this evening is a conditional use for food truck sales located at 1285 West Paradise Drive by Vortex Pickleball Club.
All right, I will open up a public hearing on this topic. Anybody wishing to address the Plan Commission, please step forward.
Motion to close?
Motion to close, Chris. Second by Matt. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The public hearing is now closed. I will entertain a motion for action on this item.
Second.
Thank you, Jeff. Was that you again, Matt? Chris? Jeff and Chris. Any comments, questions, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Our third public hearing for this evening is a conditional use permit to allow retail sales as an accessory use to be permitted in a warehouse distribution and wholesaling area for 2800 East Progress Drive for Crane and Arrow LLC.
All right, I will open up a public hearing on this topic. Anybody wishing to address the Plan Commission, please step up and you will be heard. Seeing none, I will motion to close the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, John. Motion to close. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Anybody wishing to make a motion for action on this item?
I make a motion to approve for that retail spot.
Motion to approve by Scott. Is there a second? Second by Matt. Any comments, questions, discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for being here, Christy. All right, we'll move on to our site plans tonight.
Our first site plan this evening is for exterior remodeling for 303 Water Street by the Volunteer Center of Washington County.
All right, I will entertain a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mike. Any comments, questions, discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Our next site plan approval this evening is for architectural changes to the east and south walls of the second story of 111 North Main Street by TRS Property Management.
Thank you. Jim, why don't I have you walk us through this one? It's a little unique to the building, so.
Sure. So back in June of 2022, The property owner came to the city looking for a request to change the facade of the riverside front of the property. Originally, they were proposing to just clean the back up and then utilize the existing Cream City brick that was on that upper portion of the building. The property owner has since had it evaluated, and the material is actually taking on water and actually wicking into the building. So the property owner is requesting a change to the use or to the materials being used on that. So what he'd like to do is install a copper panel on that upper portion, similar to the other areas that he used on the building in both on the Main Street side and on the Riverwalk side. So this request is to change that front or that building material to the copper instead of the Cream City brick due to the extensive need for the repairs on that material. Staff would recommend approval with the condition that they apply for the appropriate zoning permit prior to the installation of the material change.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Matt, and we'll give the second to John. Any comments, questions, discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Our last site plan tonight, John.
Our last site plan this evening is for a new garage located at 261 South Main Street by Access LLC.
Jim, do you want to walk us through this one?
Sure, I can do that real quickly. So tonight's site plan is for a replacement of the garage. There's an existing garage that's there now. It's to the point where it needs to be repaired or beyond repair, so it needs to be replaced. So the developer is actually looking at constructing a in-ground garage with the top level that's exposed, or I should say that's at grade to the Main Street level. They're proposing to add a screened refuse area on there, and then also an open area for future use for seating. The site plan itself shows minor renovations onto the site. There are going to be some changes that will need to be made for access to the back of the building and for parking and whatnot. For that, the building itself is proposed to eventually have a bathroom in the lower level of that garage storage area, and then the upper level is to be used again for future seating once the building is renovated, and then also for screened refuse for all the refuse containers out in that area. They are proposing to put in a set of steps that would actually lead from the Main Street side down to the lower level of that property. The materials of the refuse area would be a land and stone finish on the front, and then also a metal railing system along in that seating area. We did have some staff comments that we're generating, and we'll forward on to the owner for revisions on the site plan. So we would ask that as a condition that the staff conditions be addressed prior to issuance of the building permit. Fire did have a couple of concerns in regards to access for the deck area. They like to see access to Main Street from the deck area, and then also had some requirements for some smoke alarms for the area that's being for that lower use of that structure. Staff would recommend approval with the listed conditions that we had, including revisions to the site plan.
Thank you, Jim. I see Tom and Mackenzie are here tonight. Anything else you'd like to add about this project? We do need you to come up here just so we can hear you on the mic. Thanks.
Yeah, Mackenzie Swartout with Paris Survey and Engineering. Jim summed it up well there. Obviously, I know we're waiting on some comments, but I guess I would just like to reiterate the need for the replacement of this garage. And I feel like the renderings show very well how much nicer this will look once these improvements are done. So I guess that's all for now.
Thank you. Any questions about this project? Yeah.
Is this part of the apartment building that's next to it, or the old River Horse Bar?
It's part of the apartment building next to it.
The apartment building.
Same parcel.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Just one question regarding the recommendations.
It does require that the area back behind it, so where the garage door then opens up on the river side, that area will all be paved, correct?
Yeah, that would need to be paved because of the improvements that they're doing.
Okay.
They need to have access to that garage.
Right, thank you.
I'll entertain a motion.
Second?
I'll make the motion to approve. I'll motion to approve.
Okay, I'll second it.
Second, Mike, thanks. Any other comments, questions, discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Good luck on the project. It looks very nice.
Yeah, any improvement to that neighborhood will be nice.
That looks good. All right, we'll move on to a certified survey map, John.
Our certified survey map tonight is, sorry, put the microphone on. It's for a 2-lot certified survey map to move a property line between Americraft LLC building and 245 North Trenton parcel. So essentially what's happening here is you have the existing industrial property, a vacant lot, and then you have the National Guard. The National Guard's interested in purchasing the property. And they don't need the easement that's there for the driveway. So the lot adjustment is basically to modify the driveway outside of the parcel they're interested in building. And I kind of stole Jim's thunder there.
Jim, anything else to add?
I've been the one talking to them the most, so I just kind of came out.
That's all right. Any other questions, comments? I'll entertain a motion. Thank you, Jeff. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Scott. Motion to approve. Any further comments, questions, discussion?
I got one.
John, go ahead.
I noticed when I was going through it on one of the contract pages, 5B1C, they need to change West Allis to West Bend.
They've been notified.
Perfect.
Good catch.
Yeah, I actually surprised I caught it.
Any other comments, questions? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Our last action item tonight is an annexation.
Tonight's annexation is a recommendation to direct the annexation to the city from the town of Barton for approximately 65 acres located north of Patricia Drive and Green Tree Road and west of North Main Street by Georgiana D. The tax key parcels are 0037, 0035, 00A, and 0025, 00Z.
Thank you. Jim, anything to add on this one?
Not too much more to add. It is adjacent and contiguous to our corporate limits. We do have sewer and water available that would have to be extended to the property for the use when they decide to develop this. They're also looking at potentially doing a small subdivision plat to create some lots along Patricia Avenue or Patricia Drive to help offset some of the costs for the development. But the commission and council will see future land use and zoning amendment changes for this, and then also any kind of platting or subdivision and site plan approvals down the line in the future.
Thank you, Jim. Is anybody here representing this item wishing to speak? Come on up, sir.
Derek Davis, property manager for Georgiana D. Open to any questions that you guys have at this point.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
We'll do approve.
Thank you, Scott. I'll second that. There's a motion on the floor to approve. Any further comments, questions, discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
We have no more further business before the Plan Commission, so I will adjourn. Thank you all.